This morning you looked in a mirror. You saw your face. You recognized it instantly. You fixed your hair, maybe checked your teeth, and thought absolutely nothing of it. You have done this 10,000 times. But there was a moment somewhere in human history when one of your ancestors looked into still water for the first time and saw a face looking back and had absolutely no idea it was them. And what happened in that moment and in the moments after changed the human brain in ways we are still trying to understand. Let us start with something that sounds obvious, but is actually one of the most profound things about human existence. You know what you look like. You have a clear mental image of your own face. You could describe it to someone. You would recognize a photo of yourself instantly. Almost every human alive today has this. And almost no human alive before a certain point in history had it at all. Think about what that actually means. For most of human history, you would have had no idea what your own face looked like. You would know your hands, your arms, your body. But your face, the thing that makes you recognizable to every other human, would be a complete mystery to you. You would recognize everyone else's face, but never your own. And here is the thing that makes this genuinely strange. Most animals are in this situation permanently, and they are completely fine with it. Most animals have no concept of their own appearance, no self-image, no awareness that the face they see on another is the same type of face they themselves have. Scientists have a test for this. It is called the mirror test. And it is one of the most revealing experiments in all of animal cognition research. The test is simple. You put a mark on an animal where they cannot see it without a mirror, usually on the forehead. Then you show them a mirror, and you watch what they do. If the animal touches the mark on their own body after seeing the reflection, that means they understood the reflection was themselves. That means they have self-awareness. Most animals fail this test completely. Dogs fail it. Cats fail it. Most monkeys fail it. They either ignore the mirror entirely or they treat the reflection as another animal. Only a small number of animals pass: great apes, dolphins, elephants, magpies, and humans. But here is what makes humans completely different from every other animal that passes the mirror test. A chimpanzee that passes the mirror test knows that is its face. But it does not spend time thinking about what its face means. It does not wonder if it looks good. It does not compare its face to other chimpanzees and feel inadequate. Humans do all of those things, and have been doing them since the moment we first saw our own reflection. Self-recognition triggered something in the human brain that it did not trigger in any other animal. It triggered self-consciousness, the ability to see yourself as others see you. And self-consciousness, the ability to see yourself from the outside, is one of the most powerful and most dangerous cognitive tools in the entire human mental toolkit. But before we get to what self-consciousness did to the human brain, we need to go back to that moment, at the water's edge, and think carefully about what actually happened. Because the first reaction was almost certainly not recognition. The first reaction was almost certainly fear. Think about what they were actually seeing. A face, looking directly at them, from inside the water, making exactly the same movements they were making at exactly the same time. That is not a normal thing. That is a deeply strange thing. An entity that copies your every move perfectly, living inside the water, staring at you. And remember, this person had no framework for understanding reflections, no concept of light bouncing off surfaces, no word for reflection, no category in their brain for what they were seeing. Their brain would have done what brains always do when they encounter something completely outside their experience. It would have tried to fit it into the nearest available category. And the nearest available category for a face that copies your movements perfectly and lives in water in a world where the supernatural was the primary explanation for everything unexplained was a spirit. Virtually every ancient culture on Earth developed mythology around water spirits, entities that lived beneath the surface, that could be seen but not touched, that mimicked and mirrored. The Greek myth of Narcissus, a young man who falls in love with his own reflection in a pool and cannot leave it, is almost certainly a cultural memory of this exact moment of confusion. But at some point, and we do not know exactly when someone figured it out, someone made the connection. that face in the water, is me. And that moment, that specific cognitive click, may be one of the most significant events in the entire history of human consciousness. Because once you know what you look like, you cannot unknow it. The self-image, once formed, becomes a permanent fixture of human consciousness. And it changes how you experience everything else, every social interaction, every relationship, every moment of being seen by other people. Now, let us talk about the archaeological evidence. Because here is something that most people do not know. Humans were making mirrors long before we had the technology to make glass. The oldest known mirrors are not glass at all. The oldest known mirrors date back to around 6000 BC in ancient Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. They were made from polished obsidian, volcanic black glass that occurs naturally. 6,000 years before the birth of Christ, someone was carefully polishing volcanic stone to see their own face more clearly. Think about what that tells you. By 6000 BC, seeing their own face had already become important enough to ancient humans that they were investing significant time and effort into doing it better. And by 3000 BC, ancient Egyptians and Mesopotamians were making copper mirrors, polished to a high shine, used daily, by both men and women. Mirrors were found in the tombs of ancient Egyptian pharaohs, placed there for use in the afterlife. The ability to see your own face was considered important enough to take with you when you died. Now, let us talk about what self-recognition actually did to the human brain, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. The ability to see yourself as others see you, which is what self-recognition enables, is the foundation of something called theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to understand that other people have their own thoughts, beliefs, and perspectives that are different from yours, and to model what those thoughts might be. It is the cognitive ability that makes empathy possible, that makes complex social cooperation possible, that makes language as we know it possible. And self-recognition, seeing yourself in a reflection, is one of the key triggers for the development of theory of mind. When you can see yourself as an object in the world, a thing that others can look at and form opinions about you, begin to model how others perceive you. And that modeling is theory of mind. This is why children develop self-recognition and theory of mind at roughly the same time, around 18 months to 2 years old. It is not a coincidence. They are connected. Which means every time you look in a mirror, you are activating one of the most distinctly human cognitive systems in your brain. Now, here is the part that should genuinely make you think differently about your relationship with mirrors. Modern humans look in mirrors an average of 8 times per day. Some studies suggest significantly more for people who have regular access to phone cameras. For most of human history, people went entire lifetimes seeing their own face fewer times than you have seen yours today. Think about what that means for self-consciousness, for anxiety about appearance, for the relationship between seeing your face and judging your face. Ancient humans who rarely saw their own reflection had far less opportunity to develop negative self-image. The self-judgment that comes from repeated exposure to your own face simply did not exist at the same level. Your ancient ancestor who rarely saw their own face was not spending mental energy worrying about how they looked. That mental energy went elsewhere. Now, here is something that researchers discovered about mirrors and mental health that is genuinely surprising. In various therapeutic settings, particularly for people with anxiety and body image issues, one of the most effective interventions is mirror reduction. Simply reducing how often patients see their own reflection, less mirror time, less self-judgment, less anxiety. Not because mirrors are bad, but because our brains were not designed for the frequency of self-exposure that modern life provides. The front-facing camera on your phone is the most psychologically significant piece of technology invented in the last 20 years, and almost nobody talks about it in those terms. Before front cameras, most people saw their own face in a mirror for a few minutes a day. After front cameras, people see their own face hundreds of times a day, on video calls, in selfies, in social media posts. That is not... Now, let us go back even further, because there is a question that nobody asks about the first reflection moment that changes everything. When that first ancestor looked into still water and eventually realized that face was theirs, what did they think of it? Did they like what they saw? Did they compare it to others in their group? Did they feel something about it? Because the moment you can see yourself, you can judge yourself. And the moment you can judge yourself, you can feel pride or shame or something in between. Self-esteem, one of the most discussed concepts in modern psychology, may have been born at the water's edge. The moment a human first saw their face and had a feeling about it. Now, let us talk about what happened after the water. Because still water was unreliable. It required the right conditions. Wind could destroy the reflection instantly. So humans started looking for better reflective surfaces. Dark, smooth stones. Pools of still-standing water in sheltered locations. Anything that gave a clearer, more reliable image. And then came polished metal. Copper first, then bronze, then silver. Each advancement giving a clearer image than the last. And here is something remarkable. In every ancient civilization where mirrors appear in the archaeological record, they appear as luxury items first, owned by the wealthy, by rulers, by priests, which tells us something important. In every ancient society, the ability to see your own face clearly was considered so valuable that it was reserved for those with power and wealth. The democratization of mirrors, when ordinary people could finally see their own faces clearly and regularly, is one of the most psychologically significant social changes in human history. The mass production of affordable glass mirrors in Venice in the 1300s changed society in ways that historians are still studying. Art changed. Portrait painting exploded as a genre because suddenly artists could study their own faces in detail. The self-portrait as an art form became possible only because affordable mirrors became available. Fashion changed. When ordinary people could see themselves clearly, they began caring about how they looked in ways they simply could not before. The entire modern beauty industry, worth hundreds of billions of dollars globally, traces its origins to the moment affordable mirrors made self-examination a daily practice for ordinary people. All of it. Every beauty product you have ever used, every haircut you have ever gotten because you did not like how something looked, every outfit decision made in front of a mirror, all of it traces back to that first moment at the water's edge. Now here is the part of this story that I find most fascinating, and most personal. The face you see in the mirror is not actually your face. It is a mirror image, a reversed version of your face. The face that everyone else sees when they look at you is actually slightly different from what you see in the mirror every day. This is why photographs of yourself often feel slightly wrong. Why you look different on camera than you expect. Because the camera shows what others see, and you are used to the mirror version. Every human who has ever lived has known their own face only as a reflection. Never directly. The face you know best in the entire world, you have never actually seen. Your ancestors did not have this problem, because they did not have enough mirror time to form a strong attachment to a specific image of their own face. Their identity was not as tightly bound to their appearance as ours is, because they could not constantly monitor and update their self-image the way we do. In ancient communities, you were known primarily by what you did, by your role, by your relationships, by your skills, by your stories, not primarily by how you looked. Modern identity in a world of social media profiles and front cameras and constant self-documentation has become increasingly built around appearance, around the curated image, around how you look. Which brings us to the most important question this video can ask. What do you actually see when you look in a mirror? Do you see your face? Or do you see every judgment you have ever made about your face? Every comparison, every standard you have held yourself against? Your ancestor at the water's edge in that very first moment saw just a face. No history, no judgment, no comparison. Just a face looking back. And in that moment before the judgment came, there was just recognition. Just the extraordinary realization that the face in the water was connected to the self behind the eyes. That is me. That face belongs to the same being that is having this thought. The being that feels hunger and fear and warmth and love. That face is connected to all of that. Now, here is what I want you to take away from this. Something practical. Something you can use tonight. The next time you look in a mirror and feel something negative about what you see, remember this. Your brain was not designed for the frequency of self-exposure you give it. Your ancient ancestors saw their own face rarely. Your brain's self-judgment system was calibrated for that frequency. Not for 8 times a day, not for hundreds of selfies. The negative feeling is not accurate information. It is an overloaded system giving you a false reading. Your brain was built for a world where you saw your face in still water occasionally, not in a phone camera constantly. Second, remember that the face you see in the mirror is not even the face others see. It is a reversed version. The face everyone else sees, you have literally never seen. You are judging a reversed image that nobody else ever sees, and using that judgment to feel things about a face that everyone else experiences completely differently. Third, your identity is not your face. It never was. For 300,000 years, humans were known by what they did, not by how they looked. Nobody who has ever loved you has loved you because of how your face looks in a mirror. They loved you because of what you are when you are with them. Your ancestor at the water's edge did not see a face to be judged. They saw a face to be recognized. There is a profound difference between those two things. What if you tried to see your face the way your ancestor did? Not a surface to be evaluated, just a face, your face, the outside of the being that is having all these experiences. The face your ancestors never fully saw. The face that has looked back at you from every mirror and every photograph and every video call is the same face your children will remember, your friends will miss. That face has been making expressions that you have never seen, smiling in ways that other people see but you only know from photographs, showing care and love and concentration in ways that the people around you know better than you do. Your face belongs more to the people who love you than it does to the mirror. That first ancestor at the water's edge, looking at their own face for the first time in human history, had no idea what they were starting. They did not know they were beginning a journey that would end with billions of humans checking their reflection on glass rectangles in their pockets hundreds of times a day, feeling things about what they saw, building entire industries around managing those feelings. They just saw a face and thought, oh, that is me. And in that recognition, in that simple, oh, that is me, every mirror ever made, every self-portrait ever painted, every selfie ever taken, every moment of self-consciousness ever felt by any human being was already present, waiting. Next time you look in a mirror, take 1 second, just 1 second, before the judgment, before the evaluation, before the comparison, and just see the face the way your ancestor did. Just see the face looking back. And recognize what an extraordinary thing it is that you can see yourself at all. 300,000 years of humans looked into water and polished stone and copper and silver and glass to see what you see every morning without thinking. That face looking back at you is the result of every one of them. And it has